Hi, everyone. My name is Tara. I'm from Oakland, California. I was born in 1984. I don't really have a prepared speech. I just wanted to share that um, every single story that I heard touched me in a special type of way. I believe that for my generation, the millennials, um, we are very angry, we're very fed up, and I don't just mean just black people, because the millennials are smart enough to know, because of the generation that raised us before, that it's actually not just about only color. And that if we work together collectively as one, we get so much more accomplished. Um, my entire life in Oakland, I didn't realize how special I had it growing up. I grew up in the ghetto on 61st and East 14th, and I went to school in the hills with all the white people, and the Asians, and all the Mexicans, and all the Indians, and Native Americans, which I was actually raised to know that there's a difference. I didn't know that the entire world, especially here in America, is not really the United Nations, like they like to make us believe when we're young. And so what happened is that when you get older and you have bills, there starts to become a difference of races, but really it's of class. And these are things that our generation doesn't really know. And the more that we understand the reasons behind black people and the disenfranchisement that has happened generation after generation after, it's like Groundhog Day, right? So I stand here because two things. We hear you as the older generation speaks, but we don't have the connection to your stories. For the last 8 months, my 11-year-old daughter and I have been homeless. The first 6 months, we were sleeping in our car in LA, in a rental car that we couldn't afford. So that was miracle number one. Because as I escaped Oakland, because I actually wanted to make it to 18, I took a path straight into corporate America, leaving all my friends in the ghetto behind with no college degree. I didn't even understand how much that was a blessing. So by me being groomed by the people who make six figures and beyond, and understanding their rhythm and their vibration, culturally, my life was very different than that of a normal black person. And it wasn't until I think I said to God one too many times, I'm sick of making all this fucking money and not having a purpose or a drive or understanding behind it. How am I helping my community? Because as I got knocked down to homelessness in that car, while I'm taking my daughter to school every single day, completely undisturbed, we never get pulled over once. Her father hasn't been the best father to her. That part culturally I do understand, and I've always tried to keep the peace. We left LA and came here to the Bay on Christmas Eve when I had $100 in my pocket. I dropped her off. She called me and said he fell to his knees. He was so happy that she had actually arrived. He didn't think she was going to make it that Christmas. And I had to decide, as her angel, that her identity belongs with her father, whether he's a monster to her or not. What happens in our society is that media plays a really big part, right? Because when you look at the TV and you watch VHSs that were recorded 30 years ago, like I just did a few nights ago, and it's nothing but white people, and then you turn into real live TV, and it's the same thing, you wonder, where is that mix that I talked about earlier? So now we're branching out and we're doing things to get involved in our community with YouTube. But we need the generations and their stories to be told. So I stand here as a bridge to say that between media, between the internet, between energy, between God, the last 45 days after the police took my rental car, because after I dropped my daughter off, there's this world and there's that world. This world is very hard. It's homelessness. I've been in the Tenderloin in a coding class that I graduated from got signatures from the Board of Supervisors because I've created a vision, a technological platform that Google and Facebook can't even fuck with. They're calling me the Harriet Tubman of technology because I'm understanding that we all need to unite together as one. Our voices need to be heard. We cannot do anything about the fragments of our past. We can't. I don't know if I'm ever gonna know where I came from. I'm not gonna know if I'm ever gonna know that great-great-grandmother and her struggle. They did a fine fucking job. They did a bang-up job of messing that up for me. But I follow the leaders. And this is Eckhart Tolle, and he believes in the power of now. So what I do believe that we can do is we can stop our early mortality rate with our young black men, because I too have a story like that from my cousin. I know how much that ravaged our entire family because he was actually one of the ones doing something with his life, right? Over one small bad decision. And in the Tenderloin, where I've seen young women who I started out in the shelter with at St. Anthony's that were just as bright as me. I had this one, she should be here with me. She was like the female Chris Rock. And I was touting her as I was going to GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter, and having conversations with the executive vice president of the CEO. And in less than 2 weeks, that girl is not here because she's strung out on heroin. 6 women who were in that shelter with me, from young to old, people I looked up to and respected because I saw myself in them, are all strung out on heroin. And I know this because I conduct walking tours now in the Tenderloin with youth from really fancy privileged schools, and I explain to them, this is why it is, and here's what you can do about it. So what's interesting is that we're very fragmented as a community. We don't necessarily know how to band together. This platform that I've created, it's funny because all the people that I was there for in my old life, when I had my Fresh Prince of Bel-Air life, when I needed them, I realized that their finances were a complete mirage. And so in one way or another, they weren't able to be there for me. So now you have this society where we're all interested in banding together, especially right now, because we're pissed. I can't even like get that out correctly. But there's hope. I'm having the conversation with the chief EEOC, and the only reason that we haven't had our second follow-up conversation is because he just switched bosses from Obama now to Trump. Trump. Let's just say that. That's the best way to say it. What I believe is that there's esoteric energy, there's spiritual energy, there's positive energy, and there's negative energy. And if he's going to be Trump, let's call him the moon. There's no reason why we can't stand just as tall and as strong and be the light. And if we give him a reason to work with us, maybe by even creating not history, but our future, which is really what it should be called, Black Future Month, so that our young children are actually inspired and not hearing more slave stories, because we're so sick of that. Right? And we get everybody involved because it really is a collective effort, and we pool together our money and we do something about it. That's the only way that we're ever going to make a better tomorrow. So I just wanted to thank you.